Hey guys, so in our last video we looked at encoding as part of the memory process, and for this video we're going to look at storage and retrieval. Okay, and we're looking at storage, we're looking at long-term and short-term memory, the two different types there. So short-term memory is, again, as the name suggests, short-term. It's limited in both capacity and in the length of time you can hold that information before you forget it. Ultimately, of course, for the most important stuff, we want it to go to long-term memory. And the portion of the brain responsible for the long-term memory is your hippocampus. Okay, and when we look at long-term memory, there are actual physical changes happening in the brain. First observed with sea slugs, as we saw this happening. But your neurons actually increase and strengthen. The synapses actually increase and grow. So there is actual physical changes happening in your brain as you are acquiring more information. It's not going to fill up. It's not going to be like you're gonna fill up all your room and stuff. No, you can. There's infinite amount you can learn and store. But it's kind of cool that the brain actually itself physically changes as you continue to learn and put stuff in your long-term memory. And we're looking at long-term memories. We're looking at your explicit and your implicit memory. Okay, your explicit, your declarative memory, looking at semantic and episodic. Okay, and then your implicit memory. Okay, your conditioning effects and your procedural memory. So explicit memory is the memory that you can kind of like you're actually going to be like talking about. So semantic memory is your facts and figures. This is your school stuff. This is your Jeopardy knowledge. Someone asks you well, what's the square root of 49? It's 7. That's your semantic memory coming into play. Okay, so these are the facts, the figures, the data, all the stuff that you kind of learn about in your kind of schooling life or whatever. That's your semantic memory. Your episodic memory is your kind of picture you have in your brain of certain personal experience. So it's that flash bulb. I don't know when it's the camera like this anymore. It's just your cell phone, your flash bulb, your picture memory of certain events that happen in your life. Versus your implicit memory. These are things that you don't necessarily have a conscious recollection of, but your body has a memory. Motor skills, tasks, skills, that kind of stuff. Your ability to get on a bike and ride a bike. That's your implicit memory. How to put on a tie, how to tie your shoes, how to do these kind of motor skills that you're not necessarily thinking about, but your body knows how to do it. That's your implicit memory. And it's the conditioning effects, your disposition. That either opera or classical conditioning, the salivating when the bell's ringing, that would be implicit memory of the dog coming into play. So explicit is your declarative. We're going to talk about it. You're going to, I'm going to say this information. And your non-declarative implicit memory, you're not really speaking about it, but your ability to do your motor skills, your certain dispositions in life, that's your implicit memory. So when we're looking at retrieval, we're looking at recall and recognition. Recall is the ability to retrieve information, kind of that fill in the blank stuff. Okay, and recognition is the ability to so recall is you're given the question on the test, and you know the answer, and you got the fill in the blank. The recognition is you get the question, it's like, oh gosh, what was that? And then you look at the multiple choice answers, and they're like, no, oh yeah, that one. You didn't necessarily have it, but once you saw it, then it kicked in and you recognize it. So recall is just the information that you just can flat out retrieve, and recognition is what you can identify from what you previously learned once you see that word or that object or whatever again. And then relearning is the amount of time it takes to relearn something. So, if you, again, you just in class, you learn your concept, you learn your vocabulary word, and then, you look at it on Monday, and then maybe remember it for a little bit, and then you kind of forget it. And then we look at it again on Wednesday, it's like, oh yeah, that one again. And then you hold on to it for a little bit longer, and then you look at it again the next Wednesday, the next week, and it's like, oh yeah, that one, and it's much more familiar. So that relearning process, if you are actually encoding this information and storing it properly, will be much easier to retrieve as you continue to relearn it. That relearning time will be much less in between. Okay, and then effects of priming. So again, we have these just GR blank blank blank. Okay, what word is this? Well, in this situation, what do you automatically think? You think green, because your brain has been primed. Color, 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 oh, color. Okay, versus, again, same exact blank over here, but now your brain is being primed, and again, fruit, 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 oh, grape, fruit. Okay, so priming is activation of associations in memory, either by things that you see, or obviously this can be manipulated if you're trying to do that for some reason, and certainly advertisers and stuff do this. But the effect of priming is we remember, where our memory is activated in certain ways based upon the associations that are created. Okay. Okay. For retrieval, the serial position effect. Okay. So what we found is we remember things at the beginning and the end of a list better than the stuff in the middle. Okay. So if you're reading a story, you're going to remember at the beginning and the end of the story more so than in the middle. Your mom gives you a list of chores to do. You remember that first one, the last one, and you're like, wait, what? What was that middle stuff they want to do? Okay. And primacy is the information at the beginning of the list, and then recency is the stuff, the most recent, at the end of the list. Okay. So here we have the percentage of words recalled, and then the position of the word in the list. The first couple, remember it pretty well, remember it, okay, not so much, not so much, not so much, not so much. But then we get to the end of it, oh yeah, I remember that well. Okay. So primacy effect, where the word, the word or the information or whatever is in that kind of list of stuff you learn, remember at the beginning and the end more so than in the middle. Okay. Other things that can affect your memory or retrieval. So, and these two are really, really easy to confuse, and they're really close to one another. Mood congruent memory and state dependent memory. Mood congruent is your tendency to recall experiences that are consistent with your current mood. So again, if you are studying and you are happy while you're studying, which I don't know people who are happy when they're studying, but maybe you're happy for another, you're just kind of in a happy state of mind regardless, happy mood. Then if you are in a happy mood while you take the test, you will, hopefully the mood congruent memory says that you will be better able to recall that memory. Okay, or maybe if you're stressed while you're studying, or you're stressed while you're testing, that might help you. Versus state dependent. Okay, it seems like it's the same. So state dependent memory is the state that you're in. This is the state of consciousness, basically. So being intoxicated. Okay, so like the theory suggests that, if you're intoxicated on a Friday night, and then you go wake up Saturday, you don't really remember what you did Friday night, but if you become intoxicated again, like the next Saturday or next Friday night, you might remember what had happened previously the week before. Okay, so and again, state dependent, mood congruent. Like depressed is depressed the state or the mood. Um, it's tricky, and even like among psychologists, it's hard to kind of know where one begins and one ends, what's going on, what is actually mood congruent and what is state dependent. But um, best way, you're doing this on the test. Think of something like being intoxicated or high or something. So you're under the influence of some sort of conscious altering substance, would be state dependent. I'm in a state of intoxication. If that's what they're looking for on the test. They ask what is state dependent. So Bob is intoxicated, and when a certain event happens, then Bob will be better able to remember that event when they're intoxicated next. Versus mood congruent, be Bob is sad when this event happens, and then Bob will be able to better remember that incident when he's sad again. Okay, and then so mood congruent and state dependent are the kind of the internal effects, context effects of what's going on the outside. Okay, so if you are you're studying and you're sitting in a comfy chair, you're sitting in your couch or whatever, and it's nice and comfy, and you're learning the information, and then you go in your classroom, and your classroom's lucky enough to have a nice comfy couch, and you sit on it. That will help you remember it. So I guess since your school desks ordinarily are super uncomfortable and stuff, maybe you should get an uncomfortable chair in your room to sit at while you're studying and learning stuff, because that will, when you sit back in that uncomfortable desk at school, it'll help you remember it. So the context is the external events, the things that are going on outside. Okay, which, since you're probably, if you are going to take your tests in silence at school, you should be studying in silence as well, not necessarily with headphones on. So that way the context effect will be the same. It will be a bit more beneficial to help you recall that information during the actual test. Okay, that's it. So those are some information on encoding and you're going encoding on storage and retrieval, and we'll look at forgetting, which is actually a process, sometimes purposeful, sometimes accidental, and its effects on memory in our next video.